Hey everybody, Coach Mike here, and it's time for Kids in Sports. Thank you for watching today. Today I'm going to be talking about the difference of what makes a good coach or a bad coach. Something we hear quite often in our youth sports world, don't we? Though, some of the reasons I've relaunched Kids in Sports is just around this kind of thing, arguing, poor sportsmanship, all these things that I look back, I've been coaching for over 25, actually over 30 years. I go back 20, 25 years ago, and it seems like parents and people in chat rooms are arguing about the same things they argued about back then. I like to try and make a little bit of difference. We'll see how far it goes. But anyway, thanks for watching. My motto is teach first, win later. And I hope you can recognize it's not about equal playing time, okay? It's about equal opportunity. I will be doing an episode on equal playing time coming up soon. So stay tuned for that. There's a lot of leagues that make you play everybody, like in softball or baseball, have to play every other inning, that kind of thing. Let me tell you the way to handle equal playing time for the younger ages, especially, and it can be a great learning tool for you. Okay. Hey, by the way, if you'd like to be a guest on Kids in Sports, share your story here. Hey, message me, put a comment in. I'll get a hold of you. Love to have other people on to share their stories. I used to do Kids in Sports with an online radio show that I did out in California, online radio, internet radio, let me put it that way, out in California about 20 years ago or so. And it was, I had some pretty cool guests on at times. Coaches, players, parents, you're all welcome. I had the whole team when back in California, we had a whole studio, and I would bring a whole team in occasionally and interview all the players of that team. So now I guess we'd be doing it on Zoom for the most part, but you never know. Kids in Sports, by the way, is sponsored by Custom Lineup Cards. CustomLineupCards.com. Get custom lineup cards for baseball and softball teams. You can get them with the roster on there. You can customize them and put your name, coaches' names on there, anything you want. And not only that, if you use the code Kids in Sports, no caps, for the month of June, you get 10% off. That's CustomLineupCards.com. So check that out. And again, like I mentioned, we're going to be talking about good coach and bad coach today. That's my cool thing. And you know what? If you have any thoughts on this subject or any other that I talk about on the show, please feel free to add your comments below. Now, if you put spam or a bunch of vulgar, inappropriate messages, I will remove those. I don't want to be the thought police in that regard, but let's keep it clean and good sports there too, okay? If you like Kids in Sports, I sure love it if you'd become a paid subscriber and support my work so I can get even better. And even if you become a free subscriber, that's okay. But come on, put a few bucks out there. Paid subscribers might have a few surprises coming if they come in there. All right, let's talk about what makes a good coach or a bad coach. What is your idea of a good coach or a bad coach? And again, post your comments. I'd love to see what you think about that. How do you measure whether your kid's coach is good or bad coach? Do you measure it by the number of wins, perhaps? Is that how you do it? Is that what makes a good coach for you? Is it whether they play your kid more? Whether you like them better? I mean, they won a championship. Oh, that, my goodness, they're great. Or what about just whether, do you ever consider whether your coach likes them or not? Do you measure by how much your child improved with that coach? Or how much your kid likes or doesn't like the coach? Does the coach yell a lot? Is that something? Does that make him a good or a bad coach? It can go both ways. Now, for this diagram here that I get, just because a coach criticizes or yells, those two characteristics by themselves, I would not say makes a bad coach. All right. A lot of good coaches yell a lot, right? Everybody's going to think they're different. But just because a coach doesn't yell doesn't make them any better or less of a coach. I actually had a teacher at one school I coached at years ago that didn't think I should be a varsity high school coach because he said I wasn't tough enough. I didn't do, and he never come out and said it so much, but it's sort of like I didn't yell at the kids enough. I think that was part of his thing, but maybe not all of it. But also, by the way, I wouldn't, I'm not going to make the kids run every time. I'm not going to make them run every time they make a mistake. I don't think, I don't want the players to think negatively just about running. Oh my goodness, it's a punishment. So they get in there. I want them to want to run more, right? And to do push-ups or sit-ups more. So there's different ways. Every coach has different ways, and we need to think about that. Is that what makes a good coach? Now, teaching, I think, is a good coach. Makes a good coach. If a coach is just going for wins, if that's all they're, and I get that at the pro level, sure, that's you're getting paid to win ball games. At the college level, you're getting paid to win ball games. But even at the college level, there's teaching that needs to go on for two different reasons. Number one, there are lessons about the sport, obviously, especially if it is a sport where the player may have an opportunity to go pro. There's still things they need to learn, right? How many times have you seen a player come out of college and they bomb as a pro? Maybe they're too arrogant. I think one in particular, a certain linebacker that I think it was the linebacker came out of Washington or Washington State years ago. What was his name? I remember he used to play against ASU, but that guy was all over the place. And there was a quarterback of there too. Oh, Ryan Leaf. Remember Ryan Leaf? You know, monster of a quarterback, right? Great college player, strong, big, everything else, hard to tackle. How long did he last in the pros? Right? There's a few of those guys. I'm sure you can name a couple of them. So even at the college level, there's teaching. I've had some people as a high school coach that say, well, it shouldn't be fun out there. It shouldn't be having fun. Well, are you kidding me? If I'm a player, if I'm not having some fun doing what I'm doing, just like your job, right? If you hate your job that much, why are you doing it? Go find a different job. Find something you can enjoy doing that you're feeling you're given. Somebody that says sports should not be fun at the higher levels, go watch a college team. College World Series of softball just ended, right? You look at those girls out there, are they having fun? Are they intense? Are they serious? Right? Are they working really hard? Yes. But they're having fun too most of the time. And they hate losing. There's nothing wrong with hating to lose. Don't get me wrong. Okay? These are some issues that get conflated back and forth all the time. And I think it's really sad because just like my old mentor, Big Jack, good friend of mine for many years, passed away shortly before I moved here to North Carolina. Sometimes he would say the funnest teams he had and some of the most successful teams he has when he would take the kids in a rec league, for example, that nobody wanted. He'd take whatever's left over, and they had their draft. And you've seen it in any rec league. This happens over and over again. Parents that are maybe on the board or they've been in there in the league for a while, and they know who all the favorite kids are, the best players are, right? So they always manage to somehow get the better players in the draft. I even had a parent one time told me not to pick her kid because she didn't want her to play for me because the kid was a crybaby. The kid whined all the time. She was totally spoiled. She had to be a good player. She played junior college ball, but I wanted. I made a comment or something. I guess they didn't like it. And I wasn't trying to be. I didn't do it in front of the kid. It wasn't about that. I wanted to try. I believe I could have helped her learn not to be so picky. I don't want to say picky. I don't know the right word here. To not be whining and because she would throw tantrums even at the junior college level. I saw her playing because they played against my daughter's team one year, and she get struck out or something. And she sort of threw a tantrum on the way back to the dugout. So, but they said, "Oh, don't play." My friend Jack would say he'd get the team with all the kids that nobody wanted, so to speak, all the lesser players, and maybe they didn't even win a game, but you know what? They scared the better teams sometimes. Some of the most fun I had, I usually ended up coaching teams that were the doormat of their league. I coached in some pretty good leagues. Matter of fact, I used to have to play against one of the best high school teams in the country for 5 years. When I was coaching at Western High School, I had to play Garden Grove Pacifica. And if you looked on Max Prex and softball, they were like in the top five every year. If they weren't number one or two, they were up there. My measure of success was how much I could irritate their coach because they weren't mopping the floor with us. I'd have we'd have times where some of the teams we were playing against would post, their girls would post something on Facebook or on Instagram or whatever. Oh, we don't have to practice tomorrow. We're playing Western. Seriously? So I did beat one of those two. I never beat Pacifica. It came sort of close one time. Not the first time. Well, the first time I played them, we scored first. And they had played, it was their sixth game in 5 days. So the last place they wanted to be was playing us. They just got done with a big tournament, right? We started out ahead early in that game, and I told the girls they don't want to be here today. They think they could just mail the score in. They ended up beating us 11-1 that day. They mercied us in 5 innings, I think it was. But the third inning, we were ahead 1-0. And the head coach came out of the dugout. My first base coach was telling me that he said, "Somebody go coach third base. I'm tired of watching this crap." Right? So now somebody say, was he a good coach? Yeah, he was a great coach. Unfortunately, the guy passed away. A good guy, but he was intense with his coaching. And there was another game a few years later where I threw my JV pitcher at him because I saw that they did not like slow pitching. And so I threw my JV pitcher at him, and she had like one pitch about 45 miles an hour. They only beat us, 6-1, I think, that day. And my pitcher walked 8 batters and hit one. So they had 9 free rides there. They only beat us like 6-1, I think it was. They met for about 5 minutes after the game, and then they left. And I asked the assistant coach, I saw him at the awards meeting, he said, at the league meeting, I said, "How was practice the next day?" He said, "Mike, it was brutal." So, I mean, because, there's nothing wrong with holding your players to a standard of what you want them to achieve. And a team like Garden Grove Pacific or Modern Day, those are the teams I recognize out there in California that, a lot of their kids are getting scholarships. They're going to be playing at the next level. Well, you don't get to play at the next level unless you have a certain standard of performance and consistency. Every coach has a different way of achieving success. Okay. And some of them do yell. I'm not saying yelling by itself is bad, but if you're belittling the player, if you're insulting the player all the time, like, "Oh, you're no good, you shouldn't even be here." No, there's no reason. And especially at rec ball at the lower levels, there's a lot of kids that have dropped sports because of a coach that not only yelled at them, but would belittle them and just put them down all the time to the point where they really weren't having fun. I mean, not even a little bit. If you're not going to have some fun, then why are you doing it, right? So don't judge it just by whether a coach yells or not. I'm a big ASU fan. I grew up in Tempe, Arizona, right? And I was a big Frank Kush fan. I actually got to interview him one time for my high school paper. He was a pretty intense guy. He could be pretty mean, I heard. There were players that don't like him. But you know what? When he got fired, I think it was early 80s, he got fired, and there were a lot of his players that came to his defense. And they even said, "Hey, there were times we hated him. He made us work out, but you know what? There were players that said I wouldn't have made it to the pros if it wasn't for Coach Kush." So yelling by itself is not one thing. Being disrespectful, that's a little bit different. Intimidate, especially the younger players. There's a lot of kids that drop out of sports. I should have looked it up before I started this episode. You can look it up, do an internet search, AI search. The percentage of kids that drop out of sports by the age 13, say by the time they're going into high school. And why? Why do they drop out? Because they were belittled, they had no fun at all, and they didn't. I think a lot of times, if they were to be honest, they didn't feel like they had a chance to go beyond that. Some kids develop later. But if you're, as a coach, if you're just, "Oh, I will just want this top kid here and this kid here because I want to win my league, I'm going to get that trophy or T-shirts or whatever they give away. You're missing the boat. You're missing the boat. Every coach, and believe me, every coach has people that hates them and people that loves them. All right, I'm going to tell you, and it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter whether they lose or if they win. Let me get rid of this one here. Not just about wins and losses. That's why my motto is teach first, win later. Teach the kids what they need to do to get to whatever. What are their goals? What do they want to achieve? Maybe the kid just wants to play and have fun with his team, with his or her teammates. I can't tell you how many girls came out to interest meets or tried to come out for softball, or even did make the team and come out, and they only did it for a couple of years. They had no plans of playing for college, not at all. They just wanted to play a sport in high school with their friends. There's nothing wrong with that. If they're willing to put in the time and work hard, hey, why not? So again, if you're just measuring by wins or losses, obviously, when you get to college or the pros, yeah, there's a different measurement of wins and losses. How many times you've seen a coach that wins and still gets fired, right? For whatever reason. The best coach has people that hate him. The worst coach has people that love him. I had a player years ago when I started coaching high school ball that she would take hitting lessons from a certain coach. And he tried to get her to use a different address or a P.O. box or something so she could go play for him at a different high school. But she stayed at the high school I was at. I was coaching in a private school because she said, I don't want to play. He's a good coach. She had a lot of respect for him as a coach. But she says, I don't want to play for him because he's I think she flat said he was mean. He was flat out mean. So, there's nothing wrong with that. Every kid, every young player responds differently to different coaches. The one high school I was at, my shortstop one year told me, Coach, if I screw up, I want you to yell at me. Okay. If that's what gets you to take the next step to succeed, if that's what's going to do, then I'll yell at you if you want me to. If that's, you can yell at somebody without disrespecting them. Did you know that? I think there's some coaches that don't know that. Worst coach, again, there was a guy that did not think I should be a varsity coach. He didn't think I was tough enough on the girls. He didn't think I did things in the right way. Now, I'll admit, when I first started, and that was even before his kid came on the team, but when I first started, I had a lot to learn. My athletic director hired me. She says, I want you to keep learning. She says, I think you got the character we want. I think you're going to do a good job. My team got better every year. My first year, we won one game, and that was against a JV team. I basically had a JV team. I had 2 seniors. I had no juniors, 1 sophomore, and 8 freshmen. So I really sort of had a JV team. Okay? But every year, we got better and we got better. And there were a couple of teams that mercied us the first year or two I was there. By the 3rd year I was there, I got a great pitcher in. The kids kept getting better. I kept getting better players. And then there was a time we got nobody mercied us. So, I'm not going to judge everything that I do on one game, just like I'm not going to judge my players on one game or 1 week of practice. I don't think that's fair to them. It's not fair to you either. All right. And what I'll say is, appreciate your kids' coaches, even if you don't like them somewhat for whatever reason. Everybody's got different criteria they're going to go by, right? Everybody's going to have something they appreciate or don't appreciate about a coach. But it's sort of like with the umpires. If you haven't got out there and done it, if you're not willing to volunteer and go coach your kids' team in rec ball, then shut up. Sit down and shut up. Appreciate them for what they're doing. If you don't like the coach that much, if you don't like then go to a different team. If it's your high school team, you can let your opinion made known to the athletic director. I hope you'd be appreciative enough to go to the coach first. This one dad that he didn't think I was tough enough to be a varsity coach. And maybe some ways he was right. There were some things I need to get better on, right? but at least he had the respect to come to me personally. Now he just sort of handed me a letter, and so he didn't do it probably the best way, and they handed the letter to the principal and the AD and stuff. But at least he had the decency to. He wasn't hiding before what he would. He didn't just yell at me from the grandstand, so to speak. So I can respect that. I don't expect everybody to like me, but yeah, if you're out there, if you're the one that's complaining all the time, sign up, put your name on the dotted line, go out and do a better job if you think you can. Again, every coach is different. Every child responds differently. They all want to go to succeed. We all want to win. We all want to look good in front of our peers, right? Your kids are the same way. So support the coaches as much as possible. If you got a problem with a coach, before you start complaining to other parents, before you start complaining to an athletic director or principal, sit down and talk with that coach one on one. Say, Coach, I really don't like the way you're doing this. Maybe nobody told the coach before. Maybe he or she had a habit that they grew up with. Maybe it was the way they were taught. We tend to treat other people like we were taught, right? So you never know. Sit down with them one on one. Say, hey, can we find some common ground here? Can we do something? I'd really appreciate. If you're out there in travel ball and you're complaining to the coach, feel free to leave, right? If you can't sit down with a coach and get it, and above all things, and I forgot to put this in, and above all things, ask your son or daughter what they think about the coach, whether they want to complain or leave, or maybe you might get surprised. Maybe they're going to say, hey, mom, or hey, dad, you're out of line here. This coach is really doing a good job. Here's why I'm not playing more, because I screwed up in practice. I didn't put in my laps I needed to put in. I didn't do this. I didn't put in the reps. So you never know. Talk to your child before you start complaining. You'll never know. There was one time, and I'll just leave this as my last story. There was one time where we were on a team, and when we got on the team, the coach tried to butter me up and my wife and our daughter. Oh, she's a lefty. She's great. She's going to be playing. And then we went like a month, and she didn't hardly get a play. And he only had a couple other pitchers. Two of the coach's daughters were pitchers, not his daughters. He would actually run around. He had a team at like four or five different age levels, and he would run around and tell the coaches who they're going to play each day. So when we started, he said, oh, she's going to play all the time. Well, that didn't turn out to be true. So finally, one time he had a different coach come in to coach our team because our coach had to be gone for the weekend or something. And when we got done, that coach told me, he said, Mike, I got to talk with him. I don't know what he's doing. He said, I felt bad. With the first two games, we got clobbered. We hadn't won a game in like a month. So the next week, they started my daughter, and we won the game. Our first game in like 25 games. Next day, she was mopping up after one of the other pitchers got clobbered, and we ended up leaving that team. But before we did, because the final straw was sort of the coach was the way he was teaching the kids how to bat. I didn't agree with his style, and I knew if I complained to him about it, even privately, that he might ask us to leave the team. That was sort of his style. If you complained at all, go ahead and pack your bags. So before I did that, before I went to him, even privately, I asked my daughter, and she says, Dad, it's okay. He says, some of the stuff I think he's teaching us is goofy. So I went and told him. He didn't ask us to leave. We finished the season out through August. So that turned out there. But we went to Kingman, Arizona for Western Nationals, and Jessica didn't get to play an inning. Did not put her in one inning. So if you're a coach that wants to punish your players, especially because you have a disagreement with a parent, don't do that. Don't be that coach. Right? It's your team. You can do what you want, but hey, treat people with respect. There's a lot of coaches out there that have a lot of respect, not just because they win, but because they do a great job teaching the players on their team how to improve themselves both as a player and as a person. And I think I left that out when I was talking about the college players there. They learn a lot of life lessons from their coaches. There's some pretty good videos online right now you can see. There's one I liked the other day. It was a Montana Fouts. I know she used to be a top pitcher. I lost track a few years, but she's got some videos online I'd urge you to look up and check out. Very, very good instruction, in my opinion. Again, put your comments on. I'd love to hear from you. If you want to come on the show and tell your story and share some of your ideas, love to have it. Follow me on Substack. Go to kidsinsports.com, and I hope you become a subscriber and support the show. God bless you and have a great week. Don't forget to share Kids in Sports with your friends.